Okay, so what's the firm's price and output going to look like in the long run? And I know I'm talking about the long run before I talk about the short run. You know, you'll see why that is in a minute. What we want to think about is the fourth assumption of perfect competition, which we haven't really talked very much about, which is that there are no barriers to entry or exit. There's nothing to stop you from entering or leaving the market. There are no unfortunate contracts that you've got to fulfill. There are no big costs that are going to be required to start up. And what we want to think about is, well, what will that mean for the firm's profits in the long term? So imagine we had a situation, number one, where we were making lots of abnormal profits. This is a massively profitable firm. Its revenue is far higher than its costs, including the opportunity cost of the entrepreneur's time. If you watch the last video, you're making far more than, say, 30,000 accounting profit. You're making loads and loads and loads of profit. This is a very successful business. Well, what's going to happen, of course, is because there are no barriers to entry, what's going to happen is that new firms will enter. What that's going to do is it's going to increase supply in the industry. And what that's going to do is it's going to start pushing down the price. And the firm's a price taker. It doesn't really have any choice. It's got to accept that lower price. And therefore, what's going to happen is that profits are going to start going down. Profits are going to fall. So when will new firms stop entering this market? Well, they'll stop entering where there's not any abnormal profit. Remember, the reason that they're entering is that they're making, they're working as waitresses in cocktail bars, or they're making normal profit in another industry, and they see they can make far more than normal profit here by switching, by moving their factory production from one industry to another. So when are they going to stop entering? When are they going to stop entering? They're going to stop entering when only normal profit can be made. We defined that a minute ago as the minimum profit needed to keep factory production in their current use. When we can only make normal profit, there's now no reason for you to leave one market and join another. There's no point in leaving your job as a cocktail waitress, earning £30,000, to come and do this business and earn £30,000. I mean, in fact, if you enter, and all the firms are making 30,000, by you entering, actually, it'll drive profit below that level. So what's going to happen is that firms will enter, competing away that abnormal profit until only normal profit can be made. I mean, in the real world, it's like, Apple 15 years ago, they launched the iPad, and they were making phenomenal amounts of profits. But of course, what then happens is that everybody else starts making a tablet-type device. Samsung comes into the market and so on and so forth. And Apple's making less profit now on those iPads than it did when it first started out. On the other hand, suppose that firms are making an economic loss. So total cost is more than total revenue. Their total revenue was greater than total cost. So making an economic loss, firms are losing money. Well, who likes that? I mean, or it's like the original situation where I was making £5,000 profit and I could earn £30,000 working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. Well, I'll go and do that. What's going to happen is that some firms are going to start leaving. They go off and do something else instead because they're not making the opportunity cost of their time, so they're going to leave the market. What that's going to do is it's going to decrease industry supply, which is good news for the remaining firms, because what starts to happen is that prices start to rise, and profits start to increase. So the losses that are being made get smaller and smaller and smaller. When will firms stop leaving the market? When normal profits are made. They will stop leaving when they can make just enough to cover the opportunity cost of their time. So what we're saying is that in the long run, if there are losses being made, firms leave until normal profits are made. If huge amounts of profits are being made in the short run, firms will enter until only normal profits can be made. So the long run position in perfect competition is one in which only normal profits can be earned, where total revenue equals total cost. So what that looks like is a situation like that. There's the industry supply and demand, and what we said is that supply has adjusted to leave the firm in a situation where it can just cover its costs. And remember, by costs, I'm talking about economic costs here. It can cover its paid costs and the opportunity cost of the entrepreneur's time. So we know that the demand line is horizontal like that, and that also reflects average revenue and margin revenue. If the firm can just cover its cost, what that means is that at the profit maximizing output, Q star, at that point there, average cost and average revenue, they are both £10. We go up, we find average cost is £10, we can see that average revenue is £10, therefore the firm's total cost, as defined by economists, equals its total revenue, and there is no incentive for either firms to enter or to leave. Now in the next video I'll tell you more about kind of how that process comes about. I'll talk about what happens if there's a shock that disturbs that equilibrium, but that is the long run position in perfect competition. One other quick thing. Why does that only happen in the long run? Why can't it happen in the short run? Why don't firms enter in the short run? Remember the definition of the short run. In the short run, there is at least one fixed factor of production. So nobody can enter the market in the short run, because they haven't got the factor of production that they need. So when we say there are no barriers to entry or exit in perfect competition, that's only true in the long run. In the short run, there are always barriers to entry and exit in all markets.